You know, there are a lot of misconceptions about Freemasonry, and we're going to talk about 3 of them right now and get to the truth. Welcome to the Scottish Rite Freemason channel. I'm Maynard Edwards, 32nd degree KCCH, your host here on the channel. I am a proud Scottish Rite Mason. If you are a Mason, or if you're a member of a Masonic organization like DeMolay or Tall Cedars, Eastern Star, the Shrine, say hi to us below. We would love to hear from you. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you get those notifications when we make new videos. Also, don't forget to check out our lost media archive. We sure could use your help. There are so many misconceptions about Freemasonry out there. Some of it is because of just the natural lapse of time. Some of it is because of movies like National Treasure, which, although it's a very fun movie, isn't really accurate when it comes to Freemasonry. And then there are some just straight up irresponsible shows like from the History Channel. And there are people who are writing nasty books about our fraternity just to try and make a buck. All of this has created a lot of confusion. And so I thought we should talk about 3 major misconceptions surrounding Freemasonry. Masonry is not a religion. It is a fraternity. It is a fraternity that accepts men of all faith. I was a Christian before I became a member of the lodge, and I'm still a Christian. In fact, I'm a better Christian now because Freemasonry teaches me to be more involved in my faith and more involved in my church. So Freemasonry has actually benefited religion, believe it or not, but it is not a religion in and of itself. You'll see some Masonic writings that say it's religious. That's different than it being a religion. Religious means that the men in the room are religious. They have a faith. In a lodge, I may be sitting next to a man who is Jewish. I may be sitting next to a man who is Muslim. So when we say our prayers together, we use a non-denominational term. We often use the term Grand Architect of the Universe, Supreme Architect of the Universe, or God of all things. Now, this isn't some new God. This isn't some special Freemason God. This is the same God that you would pray to normally. In my case, as a Christian, when I say my prayers, I might invoke the name of Christ. Well, obviously, a Jewish man and a Muslim man are not going to invoke Christ. They have their own name for God, their own method of praying. And so what we do as Freemasons is we kind of set all of that specific dogma aside for just the time period when we're in lodge, and then we say a prayer together to the Grand Architect of the Universe. And the reason we use that term is because it is non-denominational. Now, this gets made to be some big thing, but it's really not. It happens all over the country every day in places having nothing to do with Freemasonry. If you're at a large public ceremony, there might be an invocation or a blessing. Whoever is giving that blessing is going to use non-denominational language so that it is inclusive of men who might be Jewish, who might be Muslim, who might be Christian, or who might be of another faith. You're going to use that inclusive language. Freemasonry has been doing this for hundreds of years. So this idea of us coming together and using non-denominational terminology is nothing new, but people still get whooped up about it. Freemasonry is not a religion. Freemasonry is a group of men who are religious, who have a faith, but in and of itself, it is not a religion. It is simply a fraternity. Masons are not some big homogenized group where we're all following some invisible set of directives or some hidden hand. That is not a thing, and in fact, the structure of Freemasonry doesn't even allow for anything like that to happen. We are not Hydra from the Marvel comics.
Hail Hydra.
Freemasonry is a group of individual lodges that are overseen by grand lodges in their jurisdiction, and each of the grand lodges is separate from all the other grand lodges. Now, we do operate with the same basic set of rules, a basic set of values, and basic set of guidelines, but each and every grand lodge does things differently, and each and every individual lodge does things a little bit differently. Here in the United States, there are 50 Grand Lodges, one for each state, and then there is a separate Grand Lodge for all of our territories, like Puerto Rico and Guam. In smaller countries, there might be one Grand Lodge for the entire state, as for instance, the United Grand Lodge of England. Now, the Grand Lodge is in charge of all the lodges in their particular jurisdiction. So they set the rules and guidelines that the individual lodges must follow. But even then, the individual lodges, by and large, operate and run themselves. If you're looking for an analogy, it's a lot like a franchise where there's a general set of guidelines and operating rules, but each of the individual locations manages and runs itself. There is no hidden hand. There's no grand pontiff of the Masons telling us all what to do. That's not how it works. It's not how it could work, because each of those Grand Lodges is sovereign, meaning they aren't beholden to one another. So there's no top-down structure where the guy at the top's telling all the Masons what to do, and one day he's going to throw out the invisible Mason bat signal and we're all going to start marching. That's not a thing that is ever going to happen, and it couldn't happen because that's just not how Masonry is set up. This is a dictionary, and I know it's probably been a while since you've seen one of these, but if you'll remember back to your school days, this book is a list of all the different words that there are and all of their different meanings. Now, we're going to go ahead and open up to the page with the term degree on it, and in this particular 11th edition of Merriam-Webster's, you can follow along at m-w.com if you want. The seventh definition is a title conferred on students by a college, university, or professional school on completion of a program or study, or the grade of membership attained in a ritualistic order or society. Remembering that Freemasonry started in the craft guilds of stonemasons, the degrees were used to denote that you had attained a certain level of professional study. In the case of Masonry, stonemasonry, these were the entered apprentices and then the fellow crafts. The master masons didn't come along until many, many years later. In terms of what we call high degree masonry, these are the degrees beyond the first 3 degrees of masonry. These are not ranks, but rather these are titles. And these are titles that denote that you have achieved a certain level of study. This is not a rank where the 32nds are the guys who get to tell the 14th degree Masons what to do, or the 33rd degree Masons tell all of the other Masons what to do. It is not a rank in that way. It is rather a title to denote that you have received a particular set of degrees that has a particular set of Masonic lessons. But it is not the rank as you'd consider the rank in maybe the military or something like that. That is not how it works. And that is perhaps the number one misconception that people have about Freemasonry. There is no high up in Freemasonry. Once you become a Master Mason, you're as high up as you're ever going to get, because as brothers, we all meet on the level. We are all good men trying to do good things in our communities and trying to improve ourselves. Those additional degrees that we get are simply to denote that we have pursued additional studies in philosophies and all kinds of other areas of study that Masonry affords men to be able to do. And they're interesting, and sometimes they're a lot of fun to participate in, but they do not bestow some kind of rank on you where you get to then boss somebody below you around. If you've got a question about anything I said here in this video, you want to learn more about Freemasonry, do yourself a favor. Go to beafreemason.org. The link is right there above us, or you can check it down below. You can drop your questions, polite ones, in the comments section. Always love to hear from you, but please do subscribe and give us a thumbs up. I'm Maynard Edwards, 32nd degree KCCH, Scottish Rite Freemason, your host. Thanks for watching. You're still here? Well, while you're here, I want you to know about the Lost Media Archive. If you click right there, you'll learn about how for $2 a month, you can help us preserve Masonic media from the 20th century. If you want to subscribe to the channel, don't forget, click right there to do it. And to watch another great Masonic video, click right there.